In 2001, national-level NASCAR racing returned to Nashville when the 1 1/3 mile Nashville Super Speedway opened and played host to the Xfinity and Craftsman Truck Series for the first time. Over its first decade, the track became a staple of the schedule for both series, expanding each to 2 events, while also adding IndyCar racing for the first 8 years of its existence. However, without a NASCAR Cup Series date on its calendar, 2011 proved to be the track's final season, and it would shut down after choosing not to seek NASCAR sanction in 2012. My, how times have changed. In June of 2020, NASCAR awarded Nashville Super Speedway a Cup Series date, effectively bringing back the track to life. For the first time, it hosted all 3 national NASCAR series in June of 21. And tonight, it's race number 10 of the Davidson Builders Cup Series, and it's next on HBR TV. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the virtual Nashville Super Speedway for race number 10 of the Davidson Builders Cup Series. Race details for tonight: 130 laps the race distance, 79-degree ambient temperature, 49% humidity under partly cloudy skies, a little bit of a breeze at 9 miles per hour, track temperature at 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Drivers working with a 65% fuel load here this evening and 2 sets of tires available for use over the wall. Fast repairs this evening, count them 0, zip, zilch, and 3 green-white checkers if we need them. Hopefully not, but they're there if we do. Once again, everybody, welcome to the Nashville Super Speedway, the virtual Nashville Super Speedway. Practice just about wrapped up here at the Speedway. Let's look at the top times thus far. Zach Millett fastest with a 29.671. Chris Goins, teammate, second quick. Alfie Sharon, teammate, third quick. Then it's Derek Welch and Connor Leach, the top 5. It's one thing I will say about these drivers with Track Bar Motorsports, Zach Millett, Chris Goins, Alfie Sharon, and others. They're very dedicated to the practice sessions leading into these events. Not just the official session for the race itself, but they spend at least an hour plus turning laps at that day's racetrack, trying to dial things in, find the places that make the car go faster, how to save fuel, how to take care of the tire, and the like. And so far, at least here in practice, it's certainly showing it's paid off. "24-car field here tonight. Really impressed to see that with a lot of these drivers down into the southeast, of course, recovering from the most recent hurricane. Lisa Sperling jumping in, talking about the driver of the number 29, how he won't be able to race tonight, still with no power and damage. Certainly thinking about them and really everybody else that's been put out or inconvenienced, or in some cases really just lost everything. It's way more than that for some. Thankfully, others, they've gotten away relatively scot-free. But either way, anybody that's been involved in this, we're certainly thinking of them. And if anybody's out there that can help, at a minimum, whether it's funds or if you own a helicopter or you want to donate blood, it's always a positive. Get into doing that. That will help in every way. With that said, qualifying starting right now. We watch Scott Milner roll out. He'll be the first to take to the track. Milner off turn 4 here. He'll take the green flag. Got Larry Dickerson in the chat cheering on Dylan. Dylan Bryant, that is. Dylan Bryant, the race winner last week, as Milner crosses the stripe. He's 8th quick, 30.318. Very quickly, Zach Millett goes to the top. He's off turn 4 on lap 2. Can he improve on that 29.989? 29.850. Definitely picks up just a bit there. So Millett, top of the board. Connor Leach, second so far. Ran an 8.58 on his first lap. If he's got a faster lap here, he might be a major threat for the pole position. Little bit of a step out for Leach off 4, but keeps his foot in it. Down to the apron, across the stripe. Where does he land? He does it. Knocks Millett off the pole. 29.830. Just about 0.02 of a second difference from first to second. Paul Durkee, 5th quick on his first lap. 30.056. And Durkee picks up 2, 29.95. Third fast. Anthony Williams in the number 5. Anthony out of Blanchard, Oklahoma, 30.086. First lap. And first driver we've seen not improve on the second lap, 30.311 for Williams, so 7th quick he sits currently. Derek Welch just leaving the pits. A little bit of a lift off of 4 for Welch. That's going to hurt his lap coming to the green. Another wiggle off of 4 for Welch. We'll see what the lap looks like. Welch goes 7th quick, 30.057. It was a pretty good lap time, but given the 2 slips off of 4 coming to green and the white flag, we'll see if he can pick up big time here on his second lap. Meanwhile, Joshua Moore has gone P1 with a 29.80. Welch keeps it on the banking here in the dog leg. Picks up, no, he's about a 100th slower, a 30.067 for Welch. Looks like he'll be P7 as we get ready for the green here in a little bit. Albert Anderson on the track. He's just heading out on his out lap. Looks like a country time lemonade scheme on this machine. Throwback to way back to either a Michael Waltrip, maybe even a Bobby Hamilton. I think this is more of a Mikey Waltrip throwback. Good looking scheme either way. So Anderson on the clock, slides up the track a bit here in 1 and 2, probably a little further than he wanted to. Five minutes plus into the session here. There's still about 6 drivers have yet to take a time. Sean Roberts, Jarrett Woodard, Crystal Villano, Ben McKinnon, Dylan Bryant, last week's winner, and Russ Endicott. Anderson goes a 30.212. It's 12th quick. Kind of expecting an increase in pace here on this second lap. A little bit better exit off turn 2. We'll see if he carries a little bit quicker pace on this second lap. Oh, loose off of 4. Has to save it. He's going to lose big time there coming to the stripe. We'll see where he ends up. Looks like that first lap may be the better of the 2. No, he does still pick up. That would have been a killer lap if it weren't for turn 4. 30.133. Anderson jumps up 1 extra spot. Matt Sisler in the number 93. 3 birdies Toyota. Current top 5 is Moore, Leach, Millett, Durkee, and Nick Biddy. Sisler crosses the line, goes P7 on lap 1, 30.047. If he can pick it up, might be ready for some more. Only needs about 4 thousandths to top Chris Goins. Few hundredths to jump into the top 5. We'll see if Sisler's got anything for him. $29,950. Sisler gets below 30 seconds, goes P4. Sean Roberts on the Speedway in the number 33 machine. Sean out of Albertus, PA. And Sean still sporting the primer gray here. If anybody wants to jump on board, have Roberts support your business, I'm sure he'd be happy to do it as Roberts goes top 10 here on first lap, 30.045. Just a couple of minutes left in the session, a 10-minute qualifying effort here today. 2 laps, and again, another loose handling car out of turn 4. That's Sean Roberts. Roberts crosses the stripe, and it is slower, 30.378. So it looks like a top 10 starting position for the 33. Still 5 drivers yet to run. Jarrett Woodard, Villano, McKinnon, Dylan Bryant, Russ Endicott. About a minute and a half left in this session. We're going to get a very quick break out of the way. We'll be back with our starting grid after this. Stay with us. Back at Nashville Super Speedway, race number 10 of the Davidson Builders Cup Series. Let's take a look at our starting grid. On the pole position with a blistering lap of 29.800 seconds, it's the number 18 of Josh Moore. Outside, front row out of Sisk Speed Shop, it's the 71 of Connor Leach. Missed it by just about 30 thousandths of a second. Row number 2, it's Zach Millett with Track Bar Motorsports and the 93 of Matt Sisler. Row 3 goes to the 13 of Paul Durkee and the 32 of Nick Biddy. Starting in the 4th row, it's the 41 of Chris Goins, followed by the 33 of Sean Roberts. Derek Welch will start in the 5th row with Alfie Charon Jr. to his right elbow. Starting 11th will be Anthony Williams. 12th goes to the 20 of Justin Lawson. 13th starter, it's the 99 of Albert Anderson. Jesse Redding starts 14th. Brandon Coleman, 15th. 16th starter is Ken Couch. 17th starter will be the 31 of Scott Milner. Joe David in the 6th starts 18th. 19th starter is Chris Klein. Jarrett Woodard rolls from the 20th spot. Dylan Bryant, 21st. Russ Endicott, 22nd. 23rd starter is the 07 of Crystal Villano. And last but not least, it's the 12 of Benjamin McKinnon. It's your starting grid here from Nashville Super Speedway. Field starting to roll away as we get ready for green flag racing the next time by. Take a second look here at the race details. 130 laps the distance. Air temperature warming up a bit, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 45% humidity, partly cloudy skies, less breezy than it was in practice at 4 miles per hour. 114 degree track temperature. Drivers with a 65% fuel load, 2 sets of tires to work with over the wall. No fast repairs. 3 green-white checkered attempts if it comes down to it. So only one pace lap here before we see the green flag. It looks like the outside pole sitter Connor Leach has to drop to the rear. So that's going to move some people up through the pack. Outside line slides forward. It's going to put Matt Sisler to the outside. Joshua Moore are going to lead him to the start-finish line. Green flag in the air. We're racing from Nashville. Oh, and Moore spins the tires. Millett gets into the back of the 18. We got a big-time stack up here on the front stretch. Looks like everybody got through it okay, but what kind of damage are we working with here? We'll have to go back and look at that one a little bit later, but it seems that everyone got through somewhat cleanly. So Sisler takes over the top spot. Nick Biddy up into P2. Lap 1 in the books. Let's go back and look at this a little bit closer. Watch the 18 and the 315. Yeah, it's tough to say exactly what happened. I can't imagine the 18 spun the tires unless maybe he took off in first gear. The other side of that, maybe short shifting. I don't know why you would. But Millett did all he could to not completely wreck the 18. Just tough luck that everybody got through that one. So meanwhile, up front, Sisler continues to lead. Nick Biddy is second. Battle for the third spot between Moore and Millett. Biddy making a move to the inside on Matt Sisler for the race lead. Not wasting any time. Do it while the tires are fresh. But Moore, he jumps to the bottom. He's going to try and get 2 for 1. He took the pole position, but he's not to be denied. He's working his way back through. Gets the spot from Biddy. That's going to open the door for Millett to try and take advantage of the 32 as well, but Biddy not going away quietly. He's working around the outside, trying to build a run off turn 2. Moore tries to slam the door, and he does, throwing an early block here at Nashville. Moore now to the inside for the race lead. Sisler up a lane. Moore can't keep it on the bottom of the racetrack, but this place is wide enough. You can do that. Back to start finish. Sisler has the top spot for the time being, but for how long? Moore back to the inside here for the race lead at Nashville. Yeah, Moore can't keep it pinned on the bottom. You see him really trying to hang it down there on the bottom side of the racetrack, but mid-corner slides all the way up. Sisler noticing that, able to get out of the way and not be collected by the 18, but Moore's going to take over the race lead here. Now Millett to the inside. That battle continuing with Nick Biddy. Sisler trying to decide where he wants to go, whether it's top or bottom. He's going to go to the bottom for now, but maybe sticks to the middle. Switches top side again as Millett and Biddy remain side by side for third. Very eventful first 6 laps here at Nashville Super Speedway. Still really impressed that those guys were able to get through that opening lap without wrecking everybody. That first green flag comes out. Everybody's hammered down. Let's go. Guys did a great job checking up and not running everybody over. Meanwhile, Millett relegated to the 4th spot. Biddy gets back around the 315 and gets clear. Starting to put the pressure back on the 93 of Sisler. Again, this would be for the 2nd spot as Moore, who started from pole, back out in front after that issue coming to green. On board with Sisler as we look back at Biddy and Millett. Millett and Biddy now going at it again. Millett looking around the outside of the 32. These cars are dancing all over the racetrack. Contact again. It looks like Millett might have got the back of the 32 of Biddy. Hard to tell if that was contact initiated or not, but either way, Biddy got a little loose on the exit of turn 4. Biddy going back, trying to get there. Alfie Charon now closing the gap to the 32 also. Millett up into P3. Biddy hangs on to 4th. Millett taking a look to the outside of Sisler for P2. Meanwhile, Joshua Moore starting to stretch his legs a bit, get out in front of these guys. Millett takes the 2nd spot from Matt Sisler. Sisler now dropping back. He's got to worry about the 32 of Biddy, but Biddy's keeping his eyes on the rearview mirror with Alfie Charon and Sean Roberts closing in. On board with the 32 of Nick Biddy as he rides in behind Sisler. Biddy seems to got some pace here tonight. Just wondering if Nick's applying a little bit too much pressure too soon. You don't want to burn up the tires on these things early on in this race, especially with only 2 sets over the wall. Drives it real deep into turn 1. You see him really close the gap on the 93 machine. Biddy real close to the wall, the exit of turn 4. Doesn't make contact, but it couldn't be much closer. Battle continues. Sisler holding on to that 3rd spot. Nick Biddy 4th, Charon 5th. Sean Roberts runs in the 6th position. 7th place is Paul Durkee in the number 13 machine. In behind him, it's the 20 of Justin Lawson, then Jesse Redding in the number 21. Derek Welch wasn't planning on being able to be here tonight, but was able to get in late. Welch running in the 10th spot with Chris Goins trailing. Battle in behind them, Chris Goins, Ken Couch, Connor Leach. Remember, Leach started at the back of the pack, had to work his way all the way to the front. Only 15 laps. He's gone from dead last to 13th, so he's passed just about half the field to this point. Checking back out front here, Zach Millett maintains the 2nd spot, but lap after lap, he is closing the gap between himself and the 18 of Josh Moore. Remember, at the very start, if you missed it, these two got together, still unsure what the situation was with the 18 and 315. It appeared that Moore, who started on pole position, just did not fire when the green came out. Can't imagine he spun the tires so early on. I suppose it's possible if he grabbed first gear instead of second, but nevertheless, a little bit of contact was made. Everybody managed to keep their cars going straight or relatively straight. We stayed under the green flag. Best battle on the track right now, it's between the 93 and the 32. That's Sisler and Biddy. Meanwhile, battle for the race lead. Zach Millett takes a peek to the inside. Not much of a peek, just drives into the bottom of the racetrack. Ate up that 1 second lead that Moore had very quickly, and Millett goes to the point, coming to lap 18. Millett to the race lead here. Sounded like he was out of the gas and on the clutch in that corner again. Let's ride on board with the 315 and see if he's in fuel save mode already. There it is. Clutch and coast. Talking to some of the drivers pre-race, we expect a fuel window between 34 and 38 laps. It's all going to vary dependent on how aggressive you want to push your pace. Zach Millett, now that he's out in the race lead, has gone to fuel conservation mode, and he's still stretching out his advantage. The interesting part about this is in that fuel conservation mode, you can also take care of the tires. So if your competition does start to reel you in latter stages of this race, you might have a little bit of extra rubber to work with compared to the drivers that are forced to try and track you down. Nick Biddy and Elfie Sharon side by side. Sharon on the bottom in the number 9 Trackbar Media, trackbarmedia.net machine. Gets clear of the 32 of Biddy. Sean Roberts is going to try and make the pass as well. Meanwhile, Millett stretches his lead out to just about a full second over Joshua Moore. Josh Moore does have a win this season out at Chicagoland back in late August. Zach Millett, on the other hand, has 4 wins to his credit. Sisler applying pressure to Josh Moore. Moore up the racetrack. Sisler, Sharon, and Biddy on the bottom. Going to run that freight train, but no. Alfie jumps back in behind for a moment, changes his mind. Saw Biddy coming through a bit of a block, a bit of a late block here for 23 laps in. Moore up the racetrack, knows that he's off the pace comparative to his early stages of this race. You got to wonder if Josh just pushed the pace a little too hard too early, burned up those tires a bit, starting to lose the pace that he had. As Sisler now jumps up into the second spot. Now Sharon applying pressure. He wants the 3rd position. Oh, Alfie goes way to the bottom of the racetrack, tries to go up and cross the nose of the 18. Alfie drove it in way too deep, put the car on the bottom of the racetrack on the apron, and it shot him right up the banking into traffic. He's going to go from battling for the 3rd spot to back into P5. Might lose some more as Sean Roberts and Paul Durkee are closing in. Lisa in the chat, again, she's going to check out here. The phone's starting to die. Thanks for checking in. Obviously, that phone's more important for other things right now, but we'll see you next week, Lisa. Thanks for saying hi. Moore able to hang on to that 3rd position now that things have settled down a bit, but Nick Biddy still looming in that rearview mirror in the 4th spot. Nick Biddy going to the inside for P3. Joshua Moore, known to be relatively aggressive out on the racetrack, is, well, being a little more calculating right now. He's trying to defend where he can, but he's sticking it to the top side. Guys are going to make the pass. He's going to force him to the bottom to do it, or try to drop down in front of the 9. Balderke pulls it off the wall off of turn 4. Might have had a bit of a moment there, but keeps it going straight. Meanwhile, Chris Goins and Jesse Redding have jumped into the top 10, 9th and 10th. Chair into the bottom of the racetrack. Joshua Moore up top. Drivers having some issues out of turn 4 here. We saw it in qualifying how the back end of the race car was stepping out for many of these drivers. We just saw 2 or 3 have the same happen in the same lap. I had hoped that handling characteristic would improve throughout the course of the race, but it does not appear to be getting any better. .30 laps in the books here from Nashville. First round of green flag stops, getting close. 34 to 38 laps is what the expected distance is on a full tank of fuel. I would imagine you might see some new drivers at 32. Sean Roberts out of shape. Off turn 4, gathers it up. That was a close one. While Sharon back to the bottom, Josh Moore, these two continue to fight for position. Meanwhile, Millett still out in front, 2.8 plus. Back to second place, Matt Sisler, then Nick Biddy, Josh Moore, and Alfie Sharon. This is the battle we continue to watch. The 18 and the 9. Alfie sticks a nose into the bottom just a bit. Moore really determined to not give up this position. Moore goes topside. Really working the throttle. Oh, a little bit of a bump off the 9. Sharon gets into the back of Moore just enough to say, hey, I'm here. Last lap for Moore was a 32.13. Alfie Sharon a 32.12. This battle between Moore and Sharon, I think it might be doing more harm than good to the both of them, as Sean Roberts starting to close the gap to the 9. Once again, though, we are now at lap 34, so it looks to be we're in that first window for fuel. Meanwhile, just ahead, Nick Biddy making a move on Sisler for the second spot. Great battles here inside the top 5. This is 2nd through 5th right here. Lap 36 up on the board. Nobody has come to pit lane just yet. Sharon tried to drive it in deep and slide job the 18, but not enough room to get it done. Now Benny drives to the bottom of the racetrack alongside Matt Sisler. These guys are going to want to get single file here in the next lap or so if they plan on making pit stops. Hard to do when you're side by side. Meanwhile, Josh Moore blinks out here for just a moment, comes back in just as fast. Now Alfie Sharon got pressure from Sean Roberts. Side by side, Biddy and Moore off turn number 4. Lap 38 now up on the board. They've gone to the max distance of that fuel window. We'll see now who has saved the most amount of fuel. Biddy now checks up. Sharon goes around, move the number 9 machine up to P4, but Biddy looks like he's going to battle back to the inside. Very interesting time to be battling for position. Pit stop's just about ready to start. Oh, Jesse Redding real loose off of turn 4. He saves it. That might have been off the nose of the 71. I didn't quite catch it. Close call for Jesse Redding. Continues on. Meanwhile, Nick Biddy has lost some ground. He's back to the 7th position. Slipping just a bit. Chris Goins going the other way. He's up into P6. Sean Roberts charging. Working and looking to the outside of the 9. Meanwhile, Zach Millett just in cruise control mode, 4.9 plus ahead of the rest of the field here. Lap 40 up on the board. Didn't expect anybody to be able to go this far on a full load of fuel, but here we go. Biddy and Lawson almost come to blows off turn number 2. Lawson drives it deep into the corner, up into Sean Roberts. They bang doors just a bit in the middle of 3 and 4. Lawson drove it way deep and lost the nose, slipped up the racetrack, got into the 33 just a bit. Meanwhile, Chris Goins now jumps up into P5. Sharon slides up the racetrack, or is he just trying a different line? He hasn't been able to get it done on the bottom. Moore was successfully able to defend his position by working the outside. Still watch this battle for position. Lawson drops to the bottom of the racetrack again, hits the bottom and slides up the track. Now Josh Moore hits pit lane. Moore, the first driver to pull off and hit the pit road. Some drivers hitting pit lane now. Anderson, Moore, Coleman, Endicott. Millett still on the racetrack, stays out on the racetrack. 42 about to be lap 43. Really stretching this one out. Just coasting. Millett coasting almost all the way through the corner. He's going to stay out an extra lap. So this is going to put him in position where he can do this on one more stop after this. If we go green all the way to the end, which we probably won't, statistically it's just not going to happen, but these races do run pretty clean. But that one caution could give Zach Millett some insurance. As it stands right now, lap 44, come down again at 88. That would be enough to make it to the end in regulation. Granted, he would need to do some serious fuel save in that run as well. Best lap of the day for Zach Millett was at 30.06. His last lap in fuel conservation, 32.55. He is sacrificing a lot of lap time, but if you can do that and it pays off to the point where you can effectively skip an extra pit stop, If this thing runs green to the end, that could work out quite well for Zach Millett. He's the only car that is either still on the racetrack or has yet to pit. And there he is, coming to pit lane, Zach Millett. Made it 45 laps. So a little bit of insurance even still. Interesting thing with this is Millett is going to come to pit lane here. He's still going to have about a 40-second lead over second place as he gets into his pit stall. Depending on how quickly he can exit, he may get back out there with the lead. Millett drops the jack. He's down and away. So Millett may lose the lead here. Yes, he is, as Moore is just closing the gap as Millett's on the pit exit lane. But hammering down on the throttle. Millett is there. Moore does retake the top spot. Moore, on the other hand, just ran the fastest lap of the race, a 30.03, besting Millett's time of 30.06. Last time by, Moore just ran an 06 again. So Moore is trying to build as much of a gap as he can. He's got 1.5 back to Millett. As you see, there's some distance now between first and second. Quite a bit of distance back to P3, Chris Goins, but Goins picked up a few spots on that pit cycle as well. And who else has come into this frame in the top 5? Well, you see him right there, a couple car lengths off the back bumper, that number 41. It's Connor Leach. Started from the back of the pack after parking it on the outside front row. Leach drove through the field, and in that pit cycle picked up a couple extra spots as well. Alfie Charon running in the 5th spot ahead of Alfie Charon Jr. Sorry, ahead of Nick Biddy. He can't be ahead of himself. Be a neat trick. Back in the 7th spots, Justin Lawson and Paul Durkee, the two GOATs battling for position. And then Ken Couch. Haven't spoken much about Ken yet today, but running inside the top 10, made his pit stop back at lap 42. Took 4 tires, as did everybody else. Last week's winner, Dylan Bryant, running in the 10th position. So 51 laps complete here from Nashville Super Speedway. Joshua Moore back out in front after starting from pole. Want to go back to the start here yet again. This is how things played out coming to the initial green flag here tonight. Watch the 18 and 315 of Millett. A little bit of a bump. They make contact. I want to watch from Millett's roof. So you can kind of hear it there as well. If you were paying close attention, you heard after Millett got into the back of the 18, you heard the RPMs on Moore's car spike. So at that point, he started to spin the tires, but I think that was more related to the contact from the 315 as it starts to lift the rear tires off the ground. You put the power down like that, even with stickers, it's going to spin the rear tires. They both did a great job of not wrecking the whole field there, but kudos to the driver of the number 18 machine for not really losing that car at the start. Chris Goins running third. He's in fuel save mode as well. I want to go on board with Connor Leach and see if he's starting to save a bit. Leach has got plenty of pace, certainly. A couple of wins this season at Auto Club and then Dover. And there it is, lift and coast for the 71. He's saving fuel also. Oh, Connor is lifting very early, carrying that speed down to the apex of the corner, right in the middle of 1 and 2, maybe a little past the apex before he picks the throttle back up. Nick Biddy retaking the 5th spot from Alfie Charon as Alfie drops back to P6. Meanwhile, Zach Millett is retaking the top spot. Didn't see that happening as the 18 seemed to have a bit of a lead there. We got to see what exactly happened here. I don't know if the 18 had a problem. Get a look at it. Go back a little bit further here and see if we can figure out what triggered this. Was it just raw pace? This is off turn 2. Millett in the draft. You see him closing. Had a good run off turn 2. Moore almost just parks it in the middle of 3 and 4. Millett up the racetrack. Goes by the 18 like he's tied to a tree. Now, that could have been intentional, too. But again, fuel being so important in this race, Moore may have not wanted to be out in front. At least have some race car out in front of him to kind of break up that wind resistance. This way, Millett gets all the clean air, but it means he's got to burn all that horsepower and fuel. Now, Moore's back about a full second. It's still close enough to pick up some dirty air, but not so much of a draft. The last lap for Moore, though, a 31.18. Millett ran a 30.90. Zach doing a lift and coast again, trying to save as much fuel as humanly possible. Goins and Leach still 3rd and 4th. Further back, we'll watch this battle with Lawson, Durkee, and now Alfie Charon. Charon has slipped back down to the 8th position. Was very racy in the earlier stage, the first stage of this race. Battling inside the top 5, a little bit of top 4, maybe some top 3, but he has slipped a bit since the pit stop. Meanwhile, Matt Sisler is back in pit lane. This seems a little bit premature, unless he is just dead set on making it a 3-stop race. Sisler into his box. So I don't know if Sisler took his first set of tires already. He may have. Of course, could be the other way around. He may have not taken that first set. Decided to shorten the stint for the second set, so he'll have the pace going back out. We've seen Sisler work some interesting strategies throughout different leagues, and it has worked quite well for him. See if this one pays off. I know that old saying, if you follow the leader, you're going to follow the leader. Sisler doesn't want to do that, so he changes it up a bit. So Millett still with the race lead as he's back into turns 1 and 2. Closing in on Derek Welch. Welch was a top 10 starter here tonight. He's about to go down a lap, runs 18th. Sisler's going to lose a lap as well here, but he's going to be on fresh tires, so he may be able to reel Zach back in, get his lap back. Knowing that in about 20-25 laps, there's going to be another round of pit stops if we stay green. Tough part for Sisler is he's now down 2 laps. Sisler, though, he's going to wrap the bottom here, take that back. So now he's only 1 lap down, but Scott Milner running 17th. He's the first car 1 lap down, so if the caution were to come out, Milner would get the wave around the lucky dog. He'd be back on the lead lap. But with that said, just past halfway here at Nashville Super Speedway, we're going to step out, get a short break side by side, though. You won't miss a minute of the action. Stay with us. We'll be back after this.
I met Marcos Garza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
.72 laps complete. Zach Millett still leads with a 6.5-second advantage over the 18 of Joshua Moore. Another round of green flag stops expected here in the next 10 to 15 laps. And coming into tonight, we expected the fuel window about 34 to 38 laps. A lot of guys were able to stretch that considerably. 45 laps, I think, was the max distance for Zach Millett to start this one off. At 45 laps, if Millett can stretch this to lap 90 to make his second pit stop, that would definitely get him to the end, plus a little extra if we got the green-white checkered. Second place, Josh Moore, followed by Chris Goins, Connor Leach, and Nick Biddy. That's the top five. Biddy a ways back by comparison. But second, third, and fourth awfully close together. Here you see them all in a row. Really incredible the difference between the first round and the second round as far as this cycle of stops. Or so fuel run, but that first fuel run, very aggressive. A lot of racing action across the board. A lot of side-by-side, a lot of guys using the top to defend, and a lot of guys diving to the bottom trying to slide job. This fuel run, though, very much different. A lot of single-file racing. A lot of guys are just focusing on making sure they get their fuel number right. Making that determination, is this going to be the last stop of the race or not? Lap 77 on the board. We should start seeing guys hit pit lane here. I'd say about lap 85. You might see some try to sneak down sooner. Sisler, on the other hand, remember he made his pit stop at lap 59. Second stop of the day. Want to make note here as well, Crystal Villano and Ben McKinnon did not take the green flag here tonight. They'll be credited with 23rd and 24th, respectively. Battle here starting to tighten up a bit. Moore still hanging on that second spot with about a 2-3 of a second advantage over Chris Goins. Each hanging back a bit, trying to get a little bit more fresh air on the nose of his machine. Moore running a very similar line, similar approach really, as he was running early on, driving it deep into the corner and then picking up the throttle. Whereas Chris Goins, on the other hand, seems that he's the opposite. He's backing up his corner entry a bit, then picking up the throttle sooner. You see him close the gap here on exit. That's the reasoning behind that. Goins is going to make a move to the inside. Moore tried to close the door, but didn't slam it fast enough. Goins gets to the inside, a little loose at the bottom of the racetrack, but now they're in one. Side by side, we'll see if Moore continues to use that top lane advantage to defend his position. He can pinch the 41 down, and it does work that time. Continue to watch this battle. Now, as they fight, it's going to allow Zach Millett to increase his lead or save just that much more fuel. 83 laps go up on the board, still waiting for some drivers to start to hit pit lane. Fortunately, it seems Jarrett Woodard is out of this. He's been on pit lane since lap 7 with just a tiny bit of right side damage, but he's going to call it a night. Battle for second yet again. Chris Goins going back to the whip, to the bottom of the racetrack, but Moore doing a great job on that high line. Some pit stops underway. Albert Anderson, Brandon Coleman, Ken Couch in the pits. Justin Lawson, Joshua Moore, it appears as well. So I'm looking at the wrong, no, that's the right one. Josh Moore in pit lane. So 4 tires and fuel for Joshua Moore. He's going to drop the jack and head out. I think that's his last set of tires. Spins him up just a bit on exit. So the question remains, how far will Millett stretch things on this run? If he equals the first fuel run, it should be about 45 laps, so that would put him at about lap 90. Millett working the outside of Joe David. David slips up the track just a bit, almost makes some contact with the 315. 88 laps complete here from Nashville. Millett dominating here. Right now, the top 5 drivers are Zach Millett, Chris Goins, Connor Leach, Alfie Charon Jr., and Jesse Redding. They're also the only drivers on the lead lap, as Chris Goins makes it to pit lane. So does Dylan Bryant. Alfie Charon Jr. going to roll down and pit as well. So that leaves only 3 now. Millett, Leach, and Redding. Millett awful slow. Going to go an extra lap. He's going to make it lap 90. Will he pit this time by? Millett still coasting. And he stays out for another lap. He's going to go even further on this run than he did the first time. Connor Leach and Jesse Redding, they pit a lap earlier than Millett the first round through. They're still on the racetrack as well, so we might see Millett go another lap or 2 before he hits pit lane. Now Jesse Redding now is coming in. And here he comes, Millett, awful slow, very loose on entry, rear end steps out on him. So Millett from the race lead finally hits pit lane. Connor Leach is going to follow him down. Fourth place, Joshua Moore, about 41 seconds back. We'll see if he can retake the race lead here as he did at the end of that first pit cycle. Millet in the box. And there it is. It's going to be the last set of tires for the 315. Sunoco race fuel going in. And drops the jack. Millet down and away. And Moore is going to clear Millet a little bit sooner this time than the previous cycle. And it might have something to do with Millet staying out that one extra lap. Moore came down and pitted lap 84. He also took his 4 tires, so he's going to have that fast pace. So that extra lap or so that Millet stayed out, you got Josh Moore out there turning quick laps while Millet was running mid-30s. So Josh Moore, your race leader yet again. These two have gone back and forth all night, but it seems at the end of the run, Millet does reel him in and take the spot back. Again, Moore came down and pitted lap 84. Millet was able to go an extra 7 laps by comparison, which is only going to put him in a better position here for the end of the race. Still, we've run without any cautions thus far, knock on wood. Russ Endicott's still on the racetrack. He made a stop at lap 66, so he's a bit off sequence. Meanwhile, Moore in a bit of lap traffic as he closes in on the 51 of Chris Klein. Klein, the last car on the lead lap right now. Would love to stay there, certainly. Does have a few lap fresher tires than the 18, so he may be able to hold him off for a little while. Tell you though, Millet really closing in on Joshua Moore. It's less than 7 tenths now. Moore has bested his best lap at 29.89. Speaking of Moore, we just lost him for a minute there, and Millet is there. A car length and a half off the back bumper of the 18 as they're back to start finish. 35 laps to go. Moore way up the racetrack, almost to the wall. Now, my assumption here is I think Josh may have realized that he can't make it to the end without a caution or a pit stop. So I don't think he was willing to put up much of a fight to Millet there. That may explain why he went way up the racetrack. I don't foresee that being a mistake. Moore just needs some luck to change. I think he'll have a shot at this. Chris Goins still running in the 3rd position. About 2.5 seconds back from Joshua Moore. And Lawson and Durkee back into the top 5. Well, they were. Connor Leach, the 71, taking the 5th spot from Durkee. Moved the 13 back to P6. Nick Biddy following as well, starting to reel these guys in. Biddy and Sharon have been relatively close to each other all night long, but at this point they're only close in position only. Nick Biddy about a 5 3/4 second advantage over the 9. Sharon running in the 8th spot. Jesse Redding, whole straightaway back, but he's in 9th. Matt Sisler looking to the inside, but Sisler in the 18th position. Not on the lead lap. Right now, only 12 cars on the lead lap. Chris Klein being the last of them, and Albert Anderson the first one, single lap down. Again, if we were able to get a caution here at any point, Anderson would get the lucky dog. Couch and Coleman running 10th and 11th. Biddy works to the inside of Russ Endicott. Durkee's going to follow him on through. .30 laps to go for Zach Millett as he enjoys a 2 3/4 second advantage over Josh Moore. Now with this race running green so far from start to the current time, the question is, who is going to make it to the end? Yeah, guys like Zach Millett, who's definitely good to the end, a little bit of insurance if we get a green-white checkered finish. Joshua Moore, it's really up in the air right now with him. He came down to lap 84. If he can save a ton of fuel, he might be able to make it to the finish. Chris Goins, a little bit better position, came down to lap 88. Connor Leach was also lap 91, so if he's careful, he should be able to make it with no problem as well. Justin Lawson, Nick Biddy, lap 86. Paul Durkee, 85. Alfie Sharon was also lap 88, so he should be okay. Jesse Redding was lap 90. He should be fine. Brandon Coleman in 10th was lap 83. There's some question marks there. Time will tell. We're running out of it. Battle between Biddy and Paul Durkee, currently the closest on the racetrack right now. About 3 or 4 car lengths between the two of them. Bill it out to 4.7 seconds over second place, but Chris Goins reeling in Josh Moore. Take a look at this. Connor Leach up into 4th. He's trying to think about reeling these guys in. He does have the fuel to spare if needed. And Chris Goins to the bottom of the racetrack as Moore goes way up top yet again. Out of turn number 2, they're side by side. This for the second spot. Moore drives it in. Goins goes to the bottom, and again you hear lift and coast out of Josh Moore. He's trying to save. He wants to try and make this to the end. I don't think you'll see a huge fight from the 18 here. He can fight for the position and burn a lot of fuel, or he can let him go and save some and make it to the end. Looks like Moore, though, hangs on to it for the time being. You got to wonder if Chris Goins knows this, if he's just trying to force the 18 to fight him a bit here, force him to use more fuel than he planned. But in the meantime, Goins has got to look in his mirror because Connor Leach has closed the gap, so we got a 3-car battle now for this position. Moore changing lanes here, goes to the apron of the racetrack, really unsettles the car when he come back to the banking. Goins switches it up though too. He goes topside. He's going to try and go around the outside here. Leach goes to the way bottom. Might split him and go 3 wide down the back straightaway. Goins up top. Moore in the middle and Leach on the bottom. Moore's going to lose second and go back to the 4th spot. And Leach might get 2 for 1 here. Slides up the racetrack. Goins doesn't lift. Forces the 71 to check up just a bit. Now we got a side-by-side battle yet again for the second spot. It's Goins up top in the Popple Pro number 41 and Connor Leach on the bottom. Leach tries side draft just a little bit, and they're closing in a lap car to the 6 of Joe David. We'll see which lane he takes. One of these drivers would certainly love to use that 6 machine as a pick, but a little loose off of turn 4. Leach has to gather it up, but he keeps his foot in it, not giving up by any means. He's still right there pressuring the 41. 21 laps to go here from Nashville. Millett still out in front, 6.6 seconds the lead. Goins able to get alongside and clear of the 6. Connor Leach the same. No pick usage at all there. Another loose exit for Connor Leach, but again keeps his foot down, switches lanes, gets to the bottom of the racetrack. Side by side yet again for the second spot. Leach drives it in way deep. Both drivers do the same. They both slide up the track a bit. I think Goins had to lift a bit more than the 71, and Leach is going to take over the second spot. So with 20 laps to go, Connor Leach goes from 0 to P2. Not quite hero status yet. There's still time. 19 to go. Leach back 6.6 seconds. Last lap for the 71. A 31.25. Slower still than Zach Millett, but not by much. We're talking just a few hundredths slower. Sun trying to peek out from behind the clouds here at Nashville. $18 laps to go here. No cautions just yet. We were very close at the opening lap of this race. Josh Moore and Zach Millett came together. Not sure if Millett just over-anticipated the initial start, got into the back of the 18. Moore spun the tires a bit after the fact, but everybody kept it going down the racetrack. Millett has since been a dominant force here at the front of the field. Moore has shown flashes of pace, but unable to keep that same pace throughout the course of the run. Still runs in the 4th position. Justin Lawson running in the 5th spot. Sandwiched between 2 lap cars, Ken Couch and Anthony Williams. Nick Biddy in P6. He's about a third of a straightaway back. Biddy started in P6, runs P6. Back out front, race leader Zach Millett, 14 to go as he crosses the stripe. Relatively clear sails out ahead of him. Still saving. Now let's look at this again here. We'll talk about the fuel situation for Millett. Millett came down the first pit stop. It was just at the end of lap 45. Made his stop, went back out, hammered down, and then went, instead of 45 laps, came down 46 laps later to pit. So I'd say that's a more accurate representation of how far you can really stretch the fuel here. So with that said, if he goes the same and saves the same amount of fuel, he's got enough for 7 extra green flag laps. So obviously if we get a caution late in this race, he's still going to stay out. And honestly, if we get 2 green-white checkers, I anticipate he would still stay out. Maybe even 3, because you're obviously saving a lot more fuel under yellow. Very impressive. A lot of the other drivers caught on to it as well, Connor Leach being one of them. Leach still 6.1 seconds back with less than 12 to go. Connor Leach is running about a tenth of a lap faster than Millett. There's just not enough laps left at that kind of a rate for him to reel in the 3:15. He would need a caution. Leach dealing with some lap traffic at the present. Chris Klein, first car 1 lap down in 10th. Ten to go. Matt Sisler back in the 14th spot. Again, he got off cycle. I don't know if he was just working on a different fuel strategy, trying to get a little bit different than everybody else, but it doesn't seem like it's paying off, which is really unfortunate. The 93 had a lot of pace early on in this race. Started in the second row. Was able to work himself up into that front row starting position after Connor Leach had to go to the tail at the start. Meanwhile, Derek Welch in the pits. His final stop coming with 8 laps to go. Seven laps remaining for Zach Millett. He still enjoys his 6.2 second advantage over the 71 of Connor Leach. Last lap for Millett is a little bit faster than it has been, and in fact, it is still faster than Connor Leach by about 300. A 31.43 for Millett, a 46 for Connor. Chris Gones still hanging out of the third position, but Josh Moore appears to be closing the gap a bit. We might see a battle between these two before too long. Gones about a tenth of a second slower than Moore in the last lap. Gones picks up the pace now, takes a tenth back from Moore. Four laps to go from Nashville Super Speedway. Millett still out in front over Connor Leach, Chris Gones, Josh Moore, Justin Lawson. Sixth place, Alfie Sharon, then Nick Biddy, Jesse Redding, Paul Durkee, Chris Klein. We've been green flag racing since this thing started. Not a single yellow to speak of. Now 3 laps remain. Taking a look at some of the fast laps of the day, we thought Josh Moore was the only driver to get below 30 seconds at a 29.89, but it does appear that the 13 of Paul Durkee currently holding the fast lap of the day at a 29.85. Derek Welch in the chat says he's raced out. I think Derek might be calling it a night. 2 laps to go for Zach Millett, not even. 1 1/3. Millett still saving fuel. There's always that chance for that yellow flag to come out late. He's got to see that white flag. And there it is. Final lap for Zach Millett from Nashville. Millett started in the third position here this afternoon, was confident he was going to be able to save enough fuel, be very aggressive in that strategy to skip an extra stop, and he has successfully done that. Two-stop strategy for the 315. On to turn number 4, he's going to pick up win number 5 as he lights up the right rear tire across the start-finish line. Zach Millett wins it at Nashville. Connor Leach will come home in the second spot. Chris Goins finish things off in P3. So Zach Millett, your race winner. Dominating performance. And once again, another Numb Thumbs race that we go clean green to checker. Not a single yellow to speak of. Connor Leach coming up, finally putting a door mark on the left side of the 315. Chris Goins stopping in to say hi and congrats as well. Of course, they are teammates. Zach Millett parks it on the Nashville Super Speedway start-finish line. Victorious is the 315. We'll step aside here, get a break out of the way, be back with our top 3 after this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I met Marco Scarza when we were doing radiothons for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We needed sponsors to help us raise money, and he's always the first one to jump in. I would describe Marcos and his team as upstanding, someone you can trust, and he is just a genuine guy.
Marcos has been very generous. He has a genuine concern for people. You need somebody that cares about you. And that's what Marcos is, and that's pretty much what this firm is.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
Back in Nashville Super Speedway, race 10, the final race of the regular season for the Davidson Builders Gen 6 Cup Series. Zach Millett, not only the race winner in his 5th win of the season, but also the regular season champion. We'll get a word with our race winner and regular season champion. Zach, it's Steve in the booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Steve, got a copy.
Zach, congratulations, man. A wonderful season. Certainly not a runaway. You've picked up 5 wins now of the 10 that we have run, but competition certainly getting stiffer this season. You still pick up the regular season title. We look forward to the playoffs here next week in Atlanta. But let's back up just a tad here. Let's go through the first lap of this race. Coming to green, Josh Moore on the pole position. Green comes out. What exactly happened? There was a little bit of contact between you and the 18. He got a little crossed up, but what was it like? What did you see out the windshield of that 315?
Man, that was a pretty scary start. I forgot to ask him before we ducked out. I don't know if he was in first gear or maybe second. It was really easy to lose grip on that restart and even the initial start. Just no grip ever. And he lit him up, and I was in it. I kind of got on the brakes as hard as I could without killing everybody, and I think we might have tapped each other just barely. And heck of a job for everybody, behind us to not send it right through everybody. I don't know how the whole field didn't wreck right there. Yeah,
it was a huge stack up in behind you guys. Everybody was scattering, bumping bumpers and trading paint, but everybody got through reasonably clean, and I think you dodged a major bullet on that one. Then we look into the strategy for tonight. That certainly was able to help you get to this victory lane. I know we talked to some drivers pre-race that 34 to 38 laps was going to be pushing it on that field window. You went, I think, 45 laps on the first run and then another 46 on the second one. What were you doing different in that race car to save that much fuel to extend that window?
Yeah, I think my car was off more than on in this race. I was really trying to back up my entry, and I shut the thing right off. I threw the clutch in, obviously, and then threw the ignition right off. So I was saving as much as I could. I always like to have the newest tires if possible. So I wanted to pit late. I knew Moore had really good speed on the short run, and I knew he would pass me in the pit cycle both times. But I figured I could come back a little bit if I had the newer tires. And even that last run, man, I was waiting for that caution to come out, and I wanted to make sure I had enough just for a green white checkered or two.
Well, you had about, looks to me in my calculations, about 7 or 8 laps in reserve. So I think you'd have been okay for at least 2. I think 3 would have been pushing it, but man, it would have been fun to watch.
Yeah, it was close. I think I crossed it. I think it said 7. So yeah, it would have been pretty tight.
Well, with that said, we look forward to the playoffs starting next week at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the new scan. So we're restrictor plate style racing out at Atlanta. I know that's not necessarily your cup of tea, but what's the game plan rolling into Atlanta? Is it be aggressive out of the gate or just try to survive?
Be aggressive and don't die, I guess. We're going to try to link up with some teammates and see if we can just kind of stay ahead of the chaos. But it's hard there. I haven't had a good race at New Atlanta yet in anything. So I don't know. We're going to just try to keep our nose clean is all we can really do.
Well, we certainly look forward to it. Zach, again, congratulations. Race win. Regular season title by 3 points. Who do you want to shout out to?
First off, Steve, I got to give a big shout out to Crystal. She lost her dog this past week, Layla, so our thoughts were with her. That's the suckiest thing to go through. And big thanks to you as always, Steve, HBR TV, Track Bar Media, Track Bar Motorsports, Castle Packs Power. Shout out to SimGear Central, Davidson Builders, Beatles Custom Car Carriers, and shoot me a follow over on Twitch at That Is 4 Guy.
All right, Zach. Well, thanks for talking to us. Certainly, congratulations again. Thanks for chatting. Good luck next week in Atlanta, and don't die, all right?
We'll give it our best, man. Thank you.
All right, Zach, see ya. That's Zach Millett, your race winner and regular season champion here from Nashville Super Speedway. Next, we're going to talk to the driver of the 71, Connor Leach. See if we can get a word from him. Connor, it's Steve in the booth. You got me?
Gotcha.
Connor, congrats, man. A valiant run here. You put the car on the outside pole, but had to go to the back to start this thing off. Cut your way through this field. What was the difference maker here tonight? I know we went green to checker without any kind of caution to worry about things and bunch the field back up, but did you have anything for Millett if you could have got there on even territory?
I don't know. I mean, he had a lot more fuel than I had at the end. I think I had 3 laps. I was to the good at the end there. I think he said he had 6 or 7, but I know he could have turned it on when he needed to. I'm sure he was expecting a caution maybe towards the end, saving his stuff. But it was a good fun race. I mean, it was interesting having it going green the whole way. It was all about fuel saving, and some guys did it right, some guys didn't do it quite so good.
We saw the first fuel run. Everybody seemed relatively aggressive out there, jockeying for position, a lot of side-by-side racing, and then that second fuel run, everybody got kind of single-filed out, was taking care of their stuff, realizing that they needed to save. Again, that final pit stop, after you got that out of the way, was there anything that could have been done differently?
On that final, once I made the final stop, I knew I was probably going to be good on fuel, so I wasn't clutching or coasting really at all at the last stint there. The first one, it took me a while to start doing that because I was kind of making my way through traffic, and then sort of got kind of hung up. There was a big bundle of cars there, and I had lots of room behind me, so I started saving from there. But yeah, on that last run, it was kind of full bore, going as best I could while still trying to save some if there was a caution late, because I knew there would be some guys that maybe had saved more tire than I had, seeing as that was the last set of tires. But all in all, it was a pretty good, fun race.
Well, you picked up that second place finish. We look forward to Atlanta Motor Speedway on the new scan next week. Super Speedway style racing. How do you feel about your shot next week?
We're doing that again. I thought I had a pretty good shot the last time we talked about it going to Daytona, and then I made a big mistake near the end of the run and cost my teammates some bunch of spots and probably screwed up a lot of the other guys in the league, and felt pretty bad about that. So taking the EOL to here, glad I could come back up and talk to you again, start from the back. But I think next week it'll be kind of similar to Daytona, but a lot tighter and a lot faster.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to it. The racetrack puts on a great show every time we go there. It doesn't matter what kind of car it is, but certainly going to have some hurt feelings by the end of that one. Hopefully it's not you. But Connor, congrats again. Second place finish here at Nashville. Who do you want to thank before I let you go?
A big shout out to NTRL and the league admins. It's been a pretty tough go the last couple of weeks with all the hurricanes going on, and Derek not being able to get in for some races. I think he's made the last couple, but it's a lot on his shoulders, putting out penalties and all that when he's so busy dealing with work and everything. So big shout out to those guys. Shout out to you for putting on the show. And then Sisk Speed Shop, he's not here, neither is Skyler, but Nick Biddy was here. And then I was hanging out with the LLM team. Yeah, just those guys for letting me join in with them this race, and hopefully we'll have a full crew of guys back next week.
All right, Connor, good to talk to you. Congrats again. We'll maybe talk again next week.
Alrighty, thanks.
Connor Leach, your runner-up here at Nashville. Next, we're going to talk to the driver, the number 41 Chevrolet, the Popple Pro machine, and the driver at the controls is Chris Goins. Pull him up in the broadcast booth. Chris, it's Steve at HBR TV. You got me?
Yes, sir, Steve. How you doing?
Doing good, Chris. A nice run. Started in the 7th position, I believe it was, here tonight. Moved up, I think, a little bit with some guys going to the back, but had your work cut out for you. Saw you in some close quarters battles there in the latter section of the top 10, but worked your way through, drove it up to the 2nd spot, end up with a 3rd place finish. Walk us through your race, your strategy, and the closing laps here at Nashville.
Yeah, well, it was actually a lot scarier than that because I had that EOL for the penalty from last week. So I actually started, the only person behind me, I think, was Connor. So we kind of worked together a little bit just to navigate through some of the traffic there. And we knew it was going to be a little tight on fuel there if it went green the whole time. So just tried to spend some time off throttle there on that first stint in traffic just to save a little bit. Once we kind of got clear of that, it just went into basically fuel save mode for the middle stint for sure. I think Connor was able to save a little bit more than I was because he rode behind me that whole stint, just using me. So he had a little bit of an advantage there at the end. Just like I had a little bit of a tire advantage on Josh. So I was able to get around Josh and then just fought with Connor there for a few laps, and I was still having to save a little bit of fuel, and he wasn't. So he was just able to use the new tires and pull away from me there at the end. But we'll bring it home a solid top 3 and be happy with considering how the race started.
I'm sure you and Zach had spoken prior to this race in your practice sessions about trying to save fuel, how far you expected it to go. It seemed that everybody was able to get a little bit more out of the cars than even anticipated in the practice session. What do you think changed here at the racetrack? Was it driving style? Was it temperatures? Was it just the overall pace of the race? What allowed you guys to go that much further on a full load of fuel?
Honestly, I think it was when everybody got spread out some. especially the middle stint and the end of the race. We were able to utilize some of the lap traffic and the draft that we saw, because had times where we were kind of constantly in draft, even just overtaking some lapped cars and cars, that were coming out of the pits and things like that. So I think being in constant draft was super beneficial for the long run. Just like with my first stint, I mean, being stuck back in traffic, there 9th, 10th, 11th, I was able to save quite a bit. I wasn't even actively saving fuel, really. The traditional methods, we see Zach and the other guys do, clutching it, turning it off and things like that. It was just off throttle time. So being able to utilize that draft is, I think, was pretty key for sure.
Well, someone that's familiar with the draft, you specifically in that number 41 machine. We roll to Atlanta Motor Speedway next week. Definitely a drafting track these days. Any trade secrets you want to divulge going into Atlanta next week?
If I had any secrets other than having good teammates that push me pretty well and that we all work together, if there was any other secrets, I'd be happy to tell you. But I think it's just a matter of who you can get hooked up with and run with, and just work together and hope to be there at the end.
Well, we certainly look forward to it, Chris. An awesome run here, third place finish. Who do you want to thank?
Yep. Obviously the guys over at NTRL for putting these leagues on. We always have a good time here. So you obviously HBR TV, Steve, appreciate you doing these. Obviously love to go back and watch these whenever we can. Popple Teams, Eric Dodson, State Farm, Track Bar Media, the teammates over at Track Bar Motorsports had a solid night tonight. I think we all ended up top 10. So it's always good to run with those guys in practice and just kind of try and get better week in and week out. So, but hopefully we will be talking with you again in some capacity and not in the care center next week.
Certainly don't want that. Again, Chris, congratulations. Strong run. Thanks for talking to us, man. Good luck next week.
Appreciate it, Steve.
Chris Goins, your third place finisher here at Nashville Super Speedway. That's going to wrap up the interview portion of broadcast tonight. Let's take a look at the race results. Of course, we talked to Zach Millett, the winner, Connor Leach and Chris Goins, the balance at the top three. Joshua Moore, our pole sitter, strong in the short run, but could not keep up with those guys after the fact on the long run, but still a solid finish for the 18 machine. He comes home P4. A good run for the fifth place finisher, Justin Lawson. Alfie Charon came home in the sixth spot. Nick Biddy was seventh. Jesse Redding finished out in eighth. Paul Durkee was ninth. Chris Klein finishes out in the 10th spot. 11th place finisher, that was Joe David in the number 6 machine. Anthony Williams was 12th. 13th went to Matt Sisler. Scott Milner was 14th. Brandon Coleman was 15th. 16th finisher was Ken Couch. 17th, Sean Roberts. Albert Anderson was 18th. 19th went to Ross Endicott. Derek Welch, 20th. Dylan Bryant, 21st. Jarrett Woodard was 22nd. Crystal Villano and Ben McKinnon, as we said, did not take the green flag here tonight. They'll be credited with 23rd and 24th. Got to thank you guys all for tuning in here tonight. Of course, if you haven't already done so, click the thumbs up on tonight's broadcast. If you liked what you saw, it does help push the video out to some wider audiences, get some fresh eyeballs on not only the channel, but also the league. And I tell you, it does work, because occasionally I'll see somebody jump in the stream chat and say, "Hi, what is this?" That tells me that's somebody new that doesn't know what they're watching, but either way, it's getting pushed to some fresh eyeballs, and that's always a good thing. Hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so you don't miss a moment of the action when we go live. And, well, keep tuning in every single week. We certainly do appreciate it. That said, congratulations yet again to Zach Millett, taking the checkered flag for the 5th time and the regular season championship. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you guys at the next one.